right. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody here. And there's somebody else, Parag, coming on. Glad to have you all here. Let me kick off with a news flash that we will be starting a new deep funding round next week. The date is not yet, I'm not sure when this video will be out. So next week will be the week of 12th December or something. So it could be halfway the week, beginning of the week. We're not exactly sure yet. We need to do some preparation. But as soon as we have that in order, we'll open up the portal and we'll send out notifications. And the portal will stay open until 15th of January. At least that is the current plan. So there's a lot to look forward to on that end. We have new pools, different options. We won't get into that too much unless you have questions about that. But I thought that would be a nice way to start, or a nice thing to start off with.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I wonder how it's going to it's going to overlap with the holiday period, obviously, but maybe as long as it's a long period, then that's okay.
Yeah, so what we saw last time, we had 4 weeks also. Right now it would be a little bit over 4 weeks. But what we saw is that I think half of the projects were submitted in the last 3 days or something.
Yeah.
So I hope I hope we can motivate people to do that more earlier. Also by the incentive structure for the community to give feedback. And yeah, benefiting from that feedback and getting more exposure also that way. But I think there's actually a benefit also in having that holiday period in the middle. I mean, some of the proposers, contributors, or the proposers will be people who have another day job and this is something they want to start doing or doing next to their job. Then actually this holiday period could be a good period to be not distracted by other stuff, but have a few days to create a good proposal. And for others that do this as their main occupation, they still have 2 weeks after, 2 weeks in the new year, let's put it like that, to get sorted and organized. And already a little bit before the holiday season as well. So yeah, I would say everybody has plenty of opportunity to create a new proposal and to do other interesting stuff. And yeah, let's see. I can't wait to have it opened up and see new proposals coming in. Also on existing services. That is a new pool that I'm personally very interested in, to see how that will work, if community members will actually drag people to our platform and to deep funding and help them with a proposal and onboarding and getting exposure. So that would be great. All right, then the other part where what we usually start out with is presentations. Is there anybody here, Robert, that would like to present something?
Yes, indeed. So I've met a major milestone in my project in grammar-guided genetic programming. And I've uploaded a package today and recorded a 9-minute video on it because I have to switch between different windows and such. So if it's okay, I would start to share my screen and show you what I've pre-recorded.
Are you all ready for a 9-minute presentation video from Robert?
Let me start with a quick reminder who I am and what I'm doing. My name is Robert Haas. I'm a student from Vienna, and I have proposed 2 projects for SingularityNET's Deep Funding Round 1 that both got accepted. The first one is about a general purpose optimization service that I will add to the platform, and the second one is a use case that builds on top of that service. The great idea behind it is that other people can also build their own use cases by using that optimization method. So I want to talk today about grammar-guided genetic programming, which is the name of this special kind of optimization method. And the idea is that you can use evolutionary algorithms to search for an optimal program in a language defined by context-free grammar. That's a bit complicated. There have been long videos that explain the concept, so I will just shortly remind you. You have search space, which is just a set of strings. You need to define a search goal in form of a function that assigns a quality measure to each of these strings, and then if you provide that as a user to the service, it can run a search method and find an optimal string for you. You can either use the open source package that I have implemented, or you can later use the service that is running on SingularityNET. One example that I've shown in my introductions is that the search space can be, for example, 300 semi-transparent triangles which have different coordinates and colors, and you want to move those triangles so that they resemble a target image, and the package or service could be used to gradually discover better and better solutions, and in this case the image that these triangles approximate is the Mona Lisa. Now I've spent the last couple of months with creating my own business, and I've been working mainly on project 1, which is to implement 5 different methods from the field of grammar-guided genetic programming. I've published it recently as an open source package. It has extensive testing and documentation, and that's what I quickly want to show you now. So there is the so-called Python package index, which is the official repository where you can find Python packages by different developers. For example, Pandas is a very famous library in data science, and so is scikit-learn, which is a machine learning library. And today I've uploaded Alogos to PyP. Here you have links to the documentation website and to the GitHub repository, and you also have my email down here where you can write me feedback, and I would be very glad if somebody tries the package and writes me how it worked for them. This is the documentation website. Here you have the example I showed on the slides, and a link to the notebook where you can run the code by yourself, and you see that it generates these images. But what I want to show you today is this step-by-step usage guide. So this explains you how you can download and use the package by yourself. The installation guide shows you how to install the package with Python's package manager pip, and let's quickly try that. So this is the command on the console, and it fetches the dependencies, and that's it. You have installed Alogos. Now you can open a Python console and import it, and then you can, for example, create a very simple grammar with just one rule. And generate random strings from that simple language. So that's all it, how you can install the package. There are also some optional dependencies, but these are not required in the beginning. The second step what you can try is the quick start example, where you have some meaningful code that solves a simple optimization problem. Let's also try that. So I'm just generating a file with that code. I save it as demo.py, and now we can run it by just using the Python interpreter and running demo.py. And now you see how it evolves the solution. These are the different generations in the evolutionary algorithm, and this is the solution it has found. And in this case, this is an expression that approximates pi to about 10 digits after the comma. More about it can be found in the quick start example. And then if you want to take a deeper dive, there is a getting started tutorial, which is quite comprehensive. Again, the concepts are explained here. You learn how to define your own search spaces by what a grammar is, how you can write it in Bacchus Now form or extended Bacchus Now form, and how you can use my package to do that in code. Then you learn how to define your own search goals. In this case, the search goal is to find a minimum or maximum of some weird function. And then you learn how to use the evolutionary algorithm to find solutions. In this case, it has found a solution of a minimum, but you can also use it to search for maxima or to search for inputs where the function is 0. So this is a more comprehensive example. And one moment. And then there is also a gallery of different examples, such as the OpenAI Gym examples I've also shown in my original introductions, and a lot of other ones. So you can download the package and play around with all these different examples if you want to. And finally, there is also a documentation for the application programming interface of the package, which provides the most comprehensive information about all the classes, modules, sub-packages, and so on that are available in my package. So for example, here's the grammar class, where you have an explanation what it consists of, you have an explanation what you have to pass to the initialization method of the grammar, and then you can see all the functions that it provides, where, let's say, we look for the function that lets you generate strings. Here you see which parameters you can pass to it and what it returns, and different notes and references. Yes, so that's the main information I wanted to show today. So to sum up, I've implemented these 5 different methods from the field of grammar-guided genetic programming. I have tested them, I have written this documentation, and the next step in my proposal is that I want to test which of these 5 methods is the most performant one, and that I want to do by collecting a set of benchmark problems with the help of academic literature that has very precise guidelines on how to do that properly, because there are some pitfalls you can run into. And once I have done that, I want to provide the best performing methods as service on SingularityNET. And this will then conclude my first project. And the second project, which I'm in parallel also working a bit on, but not as much, is how to use that package and that service to search for optimal trading strategies. But that's for another update. So thank you for your time, and I hope that some of you who are familiar with Python might try the package, and perhaps you can give me some feedback. That would be awesome. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Robert. The advantage of recording it is that you won't be interrupted during your presentation.
That's right, yeah.
But it was very clear. Was it in a one take, or did it take multiple takes to record it?
It was 2 takes, and I concatenated the...
All right, not bad, not bad. Yeah, I like the way that you not only create the solution, but also the documentation around that, and the whole area, and how you explain that and how you structure that. I think that is also an important part of the solution. I know we had some discussions also on the same related to our own platform. So I hope we can continue those discussions and learn from that, and perhaps make some improvements there as well, guided by your, but also other people's, like Kenrick's and other people's experiences. So yeah, with those experience of all of you, we can make that better. I have one question, but maybe I ask the others first. Anybody has any remarks, feedback, comments, questions on this presentation from Robert?
I like it. I don't really know what it's about, because I don't know the topic at all. But it definitely sounds interesting, so I might check it out.
Yeah, would be cool.
Well, that's a compliment.
Just as a reminder, I've also recorded a 30-minute video at the beginning of Deep Funding that explains the concepts, I think, quite clearly. So if you don't have any touching points with that subject area, then I think that video should be enough to understand what you want to do.
Yeah, I was in that call, I remember, but
yeah.
I kind of forgot.
Yeah, it's
sounds really cool. It's not something that I came across. So, yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, driving and Zoom is not the best combination, Alessandro, but I appreciate your comments all the more. Did you catch it, Robert, completely?
Only partially, but yeah, it's difficult with driving and the connection, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd rather not distract you too much, Alessandro, from driving. I think that's your first priority right now.
On the motorway, so it's actually okay because I'm just going straight. But I'll stop at the first service station just to give a quick update, a few minutes, because we did do something. We had a couple of very interesting breakthroughs, I think, in these last weeks. I'm keen to talk about them today.
Yeah, I would love to hear your presentation, but to be very honest, with the current quality, I'm not sure if that's very feasible, very helpful.
Oh, okay, it's the connection that's okay.
Yeah, your voice going, through some strange changes, which makes it a bit hard to understand. One option I can see is if you could record just 5 minutes, then after the meeting we will put it together and add it that way. The only way is that you will be able to get feedback from the group right now.
Oh, okay. So I'll just record it tomorrow, later this evening, and then send it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then otherwise there's another opportunity. Well, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that might still work before Christmas. So okay. Otherwise we have another opportunity later.
I'll just try one thing, which is because now I'm on my internet connection connected to this call, so I'll try the mobile number dial in and see if that maybe improves it. Just 1 second.
Okay, give it a try.
Yeah, that's right.
In the meantime, anybody, while Alessandro is trying to reconnect with a different number, anybody else has some feedback on what you just saw?
No, thank you, Robert. Excellent, presentation and interesting subject. So we'll definitely check it out and come back with queries, comments, and feedback. Thank you.
That would be very, very helpful. Yeah. I just had one question. These benchmark problems, what kind of problems are that you will be testing your solution against? Are they very abstract things or something that I could understand?
Most of them are rather abstract, but the goal is that you want to identify a method that also works well on real-world problems. The problem with real-world problems, like you could design drug molecules and stuff like that, is that usually the evaluation of the objective function is very slow. so that's not optimal for a benchmark, because there you want to have fast objective functions, so you can test a lot of methods on huge samples and stuff like that. The most well-known area is symbolic regression, where you try to find expressions, for example, in different variables that fit well to a given function. So that's what genetic programming is quite well known for. But there are also different areas like classical machine learning problems or controller problems and stuff like that. But that's rather abstract and just for benchmarking.
Yeah,
Sorry, that doesn't work.
Sorry, Alessandro.
Oh, sorry, no, I just said that doesn't work dialing in. So I'll just record a short presentation.
Well, actually, the sound quality is much better right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I guess it was just what they tell you every time they have an IT problem and you call support. They just tell you restart the computer or switch off the
It
phone,
still
right?
works after all these years.
Yes, it still works. It's true.
All right. So then the floor is yours, Alessandro. Please tell us where you're up to.
So I think the most interesting thing that happened in these last few weeks was that we have started experimenting with this open source code that we found that is called Open Drone Map. And we have basically it has a few functions and a few quite a lot of pre-made functions to create different reconstructions of a map taken from camera pictures. So basically, we are now able to produce. We have tested it a few times, and I mean, more than a few times, and different functionalities, and we're able to reproduce this 3D mapping out of a set of pictures taken from a top-down, from like aerial view. So basically, with the drone camera pointing downwards from the drone. And what we've seen is that even it works with simulator images as well. And even though all the images are taken from, let's say, from above, the system is, since there is overlapping in the images, because the way you have to take the images is so that they overlap quite a bit, the system is then able to not only stitch them together as 2D, but is also able to understand how deep the objects are in those pictures, because in one picture they see maybe a tree from above, so it's got basically no length, but then in another picture it sees that it's longer because it's taken from not from directly above, but a bit more forward, so the picture takes it a bit more. So it's really interesting that you don't actually have to scan the world in a 3D way, but you can scan it just from one altitude pointing downwards, and the system is still able to create a very good quality 3D map. It also has other outputs that we have started looking at, so it's mostly the same thing, but there's different ways to display it. So you can display it with colors, you can display it as a 3D where you can rotate and and see how deep things are. So this is really good, and now it seems to work pretty well. Now we have, let's say, all integration problems to have to sort out, because what we did now was just basically use it standalone, take the pictures that we have taken in the simulator and just feed it on a standalone code. So we haven't plugged all the pieces together where on our simulated, on our engine, on our front end, we actually run the drones, take the pictures, send them to this, and then populate the front end with the map. So we still have to do all the let's say integration so that it's all end to end. But this part looks to be working very well. There are some, let's say, time issues, as in it takes quite a bit of time since it does a lot of calculations and produces quite a few different types of outputs. So we're trying to reduce the time. And we want to, the one big question and what we don't know yet, and we're trying to figure out, is if it will be feasible to do this real time, or if, I mean, it's definitely possible. The question is it, are we going to spend $10 a second on, let's say, Amazon Cloud GPUs to do this real time, or is it actually something that's manageable from a cost perspective? So we also have a different, let's say, we have a plan B in case we can't do it real time. So our plan B is to have the drones to basically work kind of as the automatic Hoover does at the moment, where you map the area before, run the system. Okay, the drones might take, the system might take 10 minutes, 20 minutes to run and recreate the whole map of the whole environment. But then when you move the drones on that, you don't recreate the map, so you don't re-update it, basically. And it works in a lot of cases. Let's say if the one really nice use case we've seen for drones is, for example, if damages on, it's to identify damages on solar panels or stuff like that. And in something like that, you really don't care, I think, if you don't update the map. Like, you can just update it twice a day, right? And it's not like it's such a dynamic environment. Obviously, if you want to start making the drones work in a and I don't know, where cars or people are, or things that are constantly moving and changing, then you need the mapping functionality real time. But I think that's for most use cases, even agriculture or stuff like that, it's not really a necessity to have a real time mapping functionality.
Cool. That sounds like some very concrete progress. It must have been really good to see how that solution worked out and stitched all those images together to a 3D environment.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. I'm not sure exactly how it does it. We have a few articles that we started reading about how, it kind of makes sense, but I don't really know the types of calculations it does exactly. But definitely works, so that's good.
Yeah, what I can think about, that's probably not the next iteration, but later. If to save on computing time, if you could recognize what are the static components and what are the components that are moving around, so that you would only need to be able to compute the changes. Maybe that is another direction for the future where you could save some computing time.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of, let's say, different ideas to try out for now. So this is definitely something I don't know how to do it off the top of my head, but no, definitely, it's definitely something where even if you can manage to make it recognize cars or living beings, then you know that those things move, but a house doesn't. So yes, that's definitely something that maybe you can do with some image recognition or something like that. So yeah, definitely worth looking at. We also almost completed the designs, and it looks, I think, really nice and clean. I will show all of this. Maybe I'll post it, or maybe next time I'll just show all the visuals and the mapping, how the mapping outputs are, and all this thing. And also, Jan, I think at this point, I think it's worth also having a conversation too, because to see exactly what is the best thing to put on the portal, because I don't know, I don't think you need the whole, let's say, the simulator or that or that. So maybe yes, but it may be in different pieces. So maybe you just want the mapper accessible in a way, and then maybe if you want to test simulated trajectories or something like that on a simulator, we can upload that. But I think it's good to start to have maybe a conversation and just say, okay, what's the best way to put what we have done on the marketplace without so that people can actually use it for other use cases, which is not just flying swarms of drones.
Yeah. That would be very interesting conversation. I think in general, it would be beneficial if you could break the service down into smaller services that collaborate together. We're working now on a new version of AI DSL and moving forward there. So that is AI domain-specific language, which will orchestrate different services. It will be a while before it's general usable, but we're making steps there. Yeah, so let's discuss it. Let's see what options there are, and if it would indeed be possible to have multiple subsystems that can your service be broken down in multiple subservices that can work together. Yeah, then we can also have a conversation about that with Matt E. Clay, for instance, and see how that would tie in already or maybe in the future with AI DSL and the testing that they're doing in that area.
Yes, thank you. That's great.
Is that a good interpretation of what you were aiming at, or am I making my own story around it?
No. I think it's good. I think it's just like we should have a call maybe and try to understand exactly how we can break it down. Even if even let's say we break it down into 2 different pieces. Then what if someone wants to use them both together? Then maybe we also want to have a way to connect them. So, and I don't know exactly how this would work or how the marketplace is structured. So maybe
it would be helpful, Ale, if you could write down what the options are, just in a few in half page or something. Like, this is our end solution and these are the components and these are our objectives. Then I can use that internally to see if this is already interesting in connection to AI DSL, or if we have other solution. And then we can set up a call with me and perhaps anybody else that is suitable for that.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So I'll produce some documentation on all the parts, basically on all the back end and front end and how it's connected and what each part does.
Yeah, you don't have to go all overboard in that. Just a rough sketch of so that we can understand the main targets and the components, so that I can use that as a starting point for communication. And then in the call or afterwards, we can deep dive in all the technical details if needed.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
No, I didn't think so. All right. So, anybody else that would like to take this opportunity to also present some new stuff or old stuff if you want?
I wish that we had new stuff. We're just now beginning our conversation with a group in Ukraine called Serve Reality to perform the machine language portion of our adaptive learning. And in preparing for that, I created a lean document. And what came out of the process of creating that was, how can we connect avatar expression? Because if the avatars themselves are going through the minute details of each lesson, it may be difficult to hear. So we're thinking about working with pop-ups for complex subjects, and of course showing how the machinery can be operated in real time in 3 dimensions, potentially by the avatar. But we also want to connect any spoken words or spoken language by the avatar to sentiment analysis. so that we can then connect that to kind of a subtly rotating cycle of behavioral animation and facial animation, and to just try and balance the work that the computer is doing to make the lesson engaging. So we'll have more next time, but for now, that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, those are very subtle things, of course, right? So you did post a bunch of videos on the interactions that I looked at, and it's always a little bit difficult to think about how to share them. But I'm thinking now, maybe we could take one of these videos and edit them in this update. Would you approve that, Ken?
Absolutely. My name is Ken Mayfield, and I approve that.
Thank you. And one thing that I noticed, there was one instruction where what's her name, the avatar?
Anya.
Anya.
Yeah.
And she was making movements like this
Mm-hmm.
while talking. And for one time it's natural, but I found that it was distracting, and I was all the time looking at her hands, and then I thought, hard to concentrate on. So yeah, it's good, and yeah, it's also touching what they used to call that uncanny valley, right? So that it's just off, and because of that, it might get distracting. I don't know. Maybe people get distracted by my hand movements all the time. So it might also be different from person to person, right? So
well, that's quite true, and it's a tricky balance to achieve, because for now we're using a collection of maybe 4 to 5 animations and trying to blend them subtly, and they're not so subtle because you can see the pointing and the looking at a pretend phone because she's a nervous speaker, and different things with the eye blinks and expressions. So when we get to the sign language motion capture, we'll be able to build a larger variety of, I hope, naturalistic expressions. Not by me, because I won't move very well for that context for Anya, but we will find someone to do that for us.
Well, I won't be the judge of that, but but that's good to hear. Yeah, that's also a nice projection, something to look forward to. And yeah, I'm totally impressed by all the work that you already created, and these movies and the large document. So thank you for that. You're well on your way and going steadily through all the milestones as laid out in the. So all is going according to plan, I would say, from my perspective. I hope that from your perspective, it feels the same.
Yes, very much. And as we go further along, it's getting more and more organized. The part that I was most concerned about, of course, is understanding enough about the machine language approach. It's primarily a visual thinker and an artist, to be able to articulate it. And strangely enough, OpenAI helped me frame a possible solution just in natural language to begin building some kind of platform to look at this with. Now, I'd worked with linguistic analysis and linguistic tagging and engrams in iOS, and something very similar. It was text input for an avatar that would then look for keywords or command words and then choose a response. And it was for car insurance at the time. So that gave me a bit of a grounding, but this is a whole other level. So I'll be very happy to speak with Serve Reality and see what we can develop from that. The idea that we're traversing nodes in a knowledge network as well as a learning network does remind me of behavioral nodes, which will apply to the avatar. So it will be interesting to see how those begin to overlap and we begin to derive utility from this experiment.
Yes, I see a lot of overlap with the things that we are doing internally. We are working with dialogue systems and graph systems, etc. Part of me thinks maybe I should connect you. Part of me thinks, oh my God, these people are so busy right now. I can't make any promises that I won't make any promises that I can't keep. But let's keep it in the back of our mind. And if it becomes a little bit more concrete on our side or on your side, let's think about what might be a good moment to connect on that.
I look forward to that, and I do appreciate that you're approaching your network to help us with our little project. The other side of it, in trying to find other machine language experts in other services and fields that offer their time, most of them are very busy. So that to me indicates that we're in a very active area to be working in. So I'm very excited about that. It's just the fact of the landscape right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good sign. That looks promising for us as well, I think, because yeah, I think our conversations dialogue system has a very different angle than all these GPT-3 and the OpenAI chat things, etc.
I look forward to seeing what that focus
symbolic,
is.
which is much more grounded in symbolic reasoning, and therefore potentially has more understanding and memory and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we are very exciting about the direction that we're in and the steps that we are taking. So, you know, one way or another, at some point, I hope you will be able to use those services from us in your solution as well. Perhaps through the platform, and that would be one option. But let's keep in touch about that and see how we can connect the dots.
I very much look forward to that. Part of the problem I'm finding with OpenAI is that its response is very repetitive and it's also very vague. So it might be that the solution you're working on will have much more utility for what we're doing, which is very precise and knowledge and domain information. So I very much look forward to that and would prefer working with your solutions over OpenAI right now.
Yeah, let's keep in touch. Let's have a short discussion on that.
Excellent.
All right. Anyone else who wants to present, or anyone who has some more comments or feedback or whatever, questions? And otherwise, we check if we can go to a next person. Is there somebody else who would like to give a short update?
I can give a short update. We're progressing with integrating our apps. As we've talked in, we had some challenges with that, but I think we have most of the issues resolved now, and we're progressing towards being able to connect our apps to the SingularityNET marketplace.
Wow.
We're hoping to do that by next week, and if we do run into any bit more difficulties, then you've connected us with Sergey, so we'll reach out to him if we need any help.
Yeah. Sergey is even more busy than he was last week, so I have to be in December. I have to be very careful with his time.
Yeah,
I understand there was some friction there. We can be completely honest and transparent about that. That it's not always as easy as we hope to onboard a service on the platform. And my goal is to learn from these experiences and to see how we can improve that, and we can improve it on multiple ways. I think one thing that we already touched on with Robert also is some tweaks, maybe not even world-shaking things, but some tweaks on how the documentation on the current publisher portal and developer portal is structured and how the flows are there. There is a lot of good material, but sometimes it's a little bit too much and overwhelming if you get there for the first time.
Yeah.
Also, I see that a lot of developers go to the developer portal, even if the publisher portal might be a better solution sometimes. And they start with the publisher portal and then they are linked back to the developer portal, and it's not always clear. That's one thing. Another thing that I set in motion, but not sure when we will be able to execute on that exactly due to planning. Is to have a short a video that will talk you through the steps and show what to do. Actually, while saying this, I'm thinking about another solution to get that done. So that's also high on my personal agenda. Then there are perhaps ways to improve the tooling so that we can make the whole things more feasible. But what I understand from it is that a lot of it, so the basic tooling is there and that is good, but a lot of things are often very contextual and specific for any specific project and context and environment, etc. So that will always require that is maybe not easy or not possible to automate.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So, and then the last thing is that an improvement that we could make is to offer onboarding as a service. And that is actually a direction that I think would be very interesting. It would be interesting for those who would rather pay a small fee, whatever that will be,
Yeah.
to have it done, like you were also asking us, basically.
Right.
And make sure
Yeah,
that
that would be good
for that. And there would be two ways of doing that. So one way would be that we would offer that service. But what I would prefer, and that's why I'm focusing on this right now also, is if there would be other players in the community or the wider market who would think that would be a good, well, business solution. I mean, I think you can make a business out of that. There are a lot of services out there that can potentially be onboarded on our platform. There is some substantial work to be done to get that done, depending on the service, etc. So I think there's an interesting business model for those who would be interested in pursuing that. And of course, we would then be very happy to help train the trainer, so to speak, in getting that done. Also, in our next round of deep funding, there will be one pool which is dedicated to existing services, which also goes for all of you here. If you have a service available that might be interesting, but maybe needs some tweaks or whatever, to put on the platform, and you could write a proposal just for that. And it won't be a proposal for $100,000. But I would expect those would be smaller proposals, and part of it can be allocated to onboarding. Part of it can be allocated also if a community member goes out and puts effort into getting these, finding these people and getting these services. That could also contribute to the whole amount. And then of course a part for the developer and for any changes that might need to be done. So that is another incentive also for me to get it onboarding, and maybe onboarding as a service also implemented, because if we are successful with this new pool in deep funding, yeah, then we will have more problems like these, and which I would love to have, by the way. And yeah, then we need also to find a more scalable solution for that. So if anybody of you here is interested, then also let me know. Or if you know somebody who's interested, let me know. Or if anybody who is watching this is interested or knows somebody who is interested, yeah, please reach out to me, and we can see. And the way that I see that happening in practice is that at the website we will have multiple options. Do it yourself. Here's a video. Here's the documentation. Or let somebody else do it. And then here's a list of preferred suppliers or something. And then we will, if you are a capable onboarding support engineer, then we would be happy to put you in that list, and then people can reach out to you. And of course, you can also find your own clientele by reaching out to AI developers. So that's just a little peek in my mind on this. And this was triggered, Kenrick, for part by your questions. So yeah, even if there was a little bit of, I don't know if there was frustration there, but
no, it's fine. We're this is a part of the project, so we're happy to work through the issues.
Yeah, so at least it helped me to get focus on this and to get some drive behind that.
Right.
Like everything, we have a full pipeline, more than full pipeline. So I'll have to see how we can fit everything in. But yeah, if we know somebody from the community, etc., please let me know. And in the meantime, I would love to work with you guys also on improving, on Robert gave some very detailed feedback already on the current user flow on the platform. So that's very valuable. Also, I shared that internally. But I would love to work with you guys also to improve that flow. I'm talking too much always. All right. So thank you. Thank you for all that feedback. Thank you for these presentations. Anyone else? Parag, maybe?
Yeah, So this is Parag from Zero to AI.
Yeah.
So this is somewhat related to the topics you have been discussing. So we've been working on the milestone. Yeah, we've been working on the milestone. I unfortunately don't have anything cool to show you today, but in 2 weeks we plan to do a demo where we can show all, most of the, SNET services running on the Zero to AI platform.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been making progress. So we have now an automated way of ingesting on services that are online on the SNET marketplaces and kind of translating and bringing them onto a Zero to AI platform. So the advantage of this is that now all of those services become accessible where one can run it on a mobile phone on Zero to AI platform. So we're making good progress, but we are not just there to kind of, as you can imagine, there are challenges. But we hope to show a demo in 2 weeks in our next session to kind of have them running on the mobile platform and get teams feedback and, continuous improvement on that. So we are super excited on the upcoming, milestone for that.
I'm so much looking forward to that. I think that is a great thing. And we currently are over in this quarter have been working hard on renewing existing services and also adding some new stuff. So we had a lot of stuff, but it was not always added as a service to the platform. So we're working on that and putting new services on the platform. So yeah, in that way, the timing is also very good to have also your app as a front end to that, to get additional exposure. And that's also a motivator to everybody here to get your service on the platform because, it will get exposure from Zero to AI's app as well.
Absolutely. That's the kind of motivation is that once that's there with enough services running on it, let it loose on the community, get feedback, and then it kind of catches on. So,
right, cool. Looking very much forward to that.
That it could be used over a mobile phone.
Sorry.
Oh, my apology. Yeah, that it could be used over a mobile phone is very interesting because I imagine myself in between tasks or in transit somewhere thinking, could we work out this issue and then begin to use the service more and more?
Yeah, so I think that's the idea is to kind of make it very accessible and bring it some of the flavors of kind of a social media like app, right? Where you generate, it's so easy to do it on the phone. You make some creations and easily share with the audience, the friends and family, and to a wider communities. So we are really looking forward to it. And on the parallel side, we are making kind of a simpler developer platform, which would allow user to actually kind of create and contribute to the platform. And then we can obviously down the line do reverse, where you use this Zero to AI platform to bring in the new services, and that gets kind of propagated back to the SNET services on the marketplaces.
Yeah, and that sounds really promising to me. I didn't want to start about it, Parag, because I wasn't sure if you wanted to have this out in public. But we already touched briefly on it before. Yeah, so I was thinking this new round might be interesting for you as well. And if it's success, we'll do it more often. Onboarding existing services could be an interesting business model for you as well, I would say.
Absolutely right. I mean, I think this is like aligns with, right, making it easy and accessible. So the more people come to the party and kind of contributes and improve. So that's the kind of a goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a discussion on that, if you're open to that, on ways that you see we could improve the onboarding process to the platform.
Sure. So I will set up a call with Yumi and Subir, soon on this, because this is definitely, very dear to our heart, and kind of, simplicity goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I also thought when I was making the rules for deep funding. I thought we need to keep it very simple, so it should be one paragraph. But unfortunately, right now it's like this long. But the principle, I'm all behind. I'm all for simplicity, and especially where it goes to things like onboarding and also consuming of services. Actually, to be quite honest, our marketplace already gives a nice user interface, which makes it quite easy to try out a service, but not maybe completely targeted to mobile. And I know that you're adding stuff to that as well. So let's have the talk, and looking very much forward to your presentation next week. In 2 weeks. So we already have a lot to look forward to in 2 weeks, and those will be nice Christmas presents, I think. But today was also very interesting and successful, I would say. So I will, if there are no more remarks or questions or whatever, I will stop the recording, and I hope that a lot of people will be seeing this and will be motivated to watch again 2 weeks from now. So I'll be seeing you then. Thank you.